Hello English learners, welcome back to another great English lesson. Today I am bringing you a great intermediate English lesson, with some really useful English vocabulary. You will learn English phrases that you speak at work between 9 to 5. Vocabulary that you could use to describe your job. This is really a common situation when someone asks you, "What do you do?" And you have to tell them about your job profile. So, today's English lesson is all about that. So, first let's listen to a dialogue between Jessica, Arthur, Carolyn, and Greg, who is Carolyn's boyfriend. Jessica and Carolyn work at the same office. Carefully listen to the phrases they use to introduce their partners, and how they talk about their job profiles. It's gonna be a little fast, but you don't have to worry about it, because I'll come back and explain you all the important vocabulary.
Oh look, there's Caroline and her boyfriend. She's always going on about him at the office. Great, they saw us. They're coming this way.
Oh man.
Jessica, Arthur, hi! I'd like you to meet my boyfriend, Greg. He's the VP of Quality and Safety for a top Fortune 500 food company.
Nice to meet you. This is my husband, Arthur.
Hey, how's it going?
Caroline talks about you all the time. I guess you must be pretty busy at work.
Well, yeah, VP position is not easy, you know. I implement policies and procedures nationwide in various departments, as well as train junior managers in FDA and EPA regulations. I also have to oversee daily operations of our quality control for the entire East Coast. That alone means I have 1,500 employees under me.
Wow, yeah, that sounds exciting.
And what about you, Arthur? What do you do for a living?
Oh, I'm a Top Gun pilot.
I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I think Greg was kind of a jerk. What do you think? He had a sarcastic tone in his voice, and was all bragging about himself and his job. What do you think? Drop me a comment. I am sure you heard some interesting phrases and vocabulary in the dialogue, so let's talk about them now. I have 5 simple words for you that you heard in the dialogue. The first one is VP. VP. So, a VP of a company is the vice president of a company. It's an acronym used for vice president. The next word is a Fortune 500 company. A Fortune 500 company. Fortune magazine ranks the 500 biggest companies in the world. So, a Fortune 500 company is one of the 500 biggest companies in the world. I hope that's simple enough to understand. My third word from the dialogue is implement. To implement something. Let's look at some example sentences to understand this word better. Example 1. Our company has to implement the sales strategy this quarter. Example 2. Sarah would be responsible for implementing the business plan. Example 3. I implemented several new policies in my previous job profile. Great examples. So, to implement something means to put something into action. My fourth word for vocabulary review is policy. And its plural form is policies. Policies are basically formal rules and regulations for a company or an organization. My fifth word for vocabulary review is oversee. to oversee something. So, when you oversee operations, it means you watch it to make sure it's okay. Or you could say, you supervise it. This is an excellent word to use when you want to talk about your job responsibilities. You could also use it while answering questions at the job interview. So, that's oversee. And the last thing for vocabulary review is kind of tricky. So, let's listen to how Greg used it in the dialogue.
That alone means I have 1,500 employees under me.
So, this guy has around 1,500 employees under him, meaning he supervises 1,500 employees. He manages 1,500 employees. I am sure he must be a busy man. Alright, with this in mind, we are ready to listen to our dialogue for the second time, and this time you are ready to understand all the vocabulary and phrases we've just discussed.
Oh, look, there's Caroline and her boyfriend. She's always going on about him at the office. Great, they saw us. They're coming this way.
Oh, man.
Jessica, Arthur, hi! I'd like you to meet my boyfriend, Greg. He's the VP of Quality and Safety for a top Fortune 500 food company.
Nice to meet you. This is my husband, Arthur.
Hey, how's it going?
Caroline talks about you all the time. I guess you must be pretty busy at work.
Well, yeah, VP position is not easy, you know. I implement policies and procedures nationwide in various departments, as well as train junior managers in FDA and EPA regulations. I also have to oversee daily operations of our quality control for the entire East Coast. That alone means I have 1,500 employees under me.
Wow, yeah, that sounds exciting.
And what about you, Arthur? What do you do for a living?
Oh, I'm a Top Gun pilot.
Okay, that's great stuff. With this, we can now start our fluency adder for today. You heard some excellent phrases from this dialogue. Some phrases that sound really natural. Especially the first one.
Oh, look, there's Caroline and her boyfriend. She's always going on about him at the office.
Whenever someone talks and continues to talk without stopping, you would say, she's always going on about him at the office. This is a really natural way of saying some people keep talking about something constantly. I have a few examples on how this phrase works in real conversation. Let's look at some examples. Example 1. My boss is always going on about how we need to save money. It's all he talks about. Example 2. David is always going on about his girlfriend. He's always talking about how beautiful she is. Example 3. My dad is always going on about how I need to be serious about my career. Okay, excellent. I hope it's clear now how you could use this phrase. Also drop me a comment about someone you know who is always going on about something or someone. Well, now let's move on to our second phrase from the dialogue. And this is a great one to use whenever you meet someone for the first time, or when you talk to someone for the first time. Hey, how's it going? So this is really relaxed and natural way of saying, how are you? You can just say, how's it going? Which means the same thing, how are you, but it sounds really natural. Now our third phrase is the most important one from the dialogue, and it's really common situation when someone asks you about your job. That's what you heard in the dialogue.
And what about you, Arthur? What do you do for a living?
So this is really a great way of asking, what work do you do or what is your job? I know a lot of English learners sometimes say, what is your job? That is kind of correct, but it doesn't sound very natural. So you would use what do you do? Or what do you do for a living? Doesn't that sound great? That's the way you ask someone, what is your job? I am sure it sounds supernatural. Okay, I've a little challenge for you viewers today. I'd like to know, what's your profession? Yes, tell me about your job, what do you do for a living? And use some of the great phrases you've learned from this English lesson to describe your answer in the comments. I hope to see you soon with another great English lesson. Till then, keep learning English and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss out on any of the new lessons. Also, you could take a quiz to test your understanding of this lesson. Bye and take care.